Dear students, I am Deepika. I have made some podcasts of Chapter 8 Vital Villages, Thriving Towns of History for Class 6. Prabhakar at the blacksmith's shop noticed that there was a small bench on which iron tools like axes and sickles were laid out, and they were ready for sale. A bright fire was burning, and two men were heating and beating metal rods into shape. It was very hot and noisy, and yet it was fascinating to watch. The use of iron began in the subcontinent around 3000 years ago. Some of the largest collections of iron tools and weapons were found in the megalithic burials. We often take the use of iron for granted today. Things made of iron and steel are a part of our daily lives. There is evidence for the growing use of iron tools, such as axes for clearing forests and the plowshare for increasing agricultural production. Our next topic is steps to increase production. Irrigation. The kings and kingdoms could not have existed without the support of flourishing villages, while new tools and the system of transplantation increased production. Irrigation was also used. Irrigation works that were built during this time included canals, wells, tanks, and artificial lakes. Who lived in the villages? There were at least 3 different kinds of people living in most villages in the southern and northern parts of the subcontinent. In the Tamil region, large landowners were known as Vellalars. Ordinary ploughmen were known as Uzhavar, and landless labourers, including slaves, were known as Kadayasiyar and Adimai. In the northern part of the country, the village headman was known as the Gramabhojaka. Usually, men from the same family held the position for generations. The post was hereditary. The Gramabhojaka was often the largest landowner. He had slaves and hired workers to cultivate the land. He was powerful. The king often used him to collect taxes from the village. He also functioned as a judge and sometimes as a policeman. Apart from Gramabhojaka, there were other independent farmers known as Grihapatis, most of whom were smaller landowners. There were men and women such as the Dasa Karmakara who did not own land and had to earn a living working on the fields owned by others. In most villages, there were also some craftspersons such as the blacksmiths, potters, carpenters, and weavers. The next topic is finding out about cities. You may have heard of the Jatakas. These were stories that were probably composed by ordinary people and then written down and preserved by Buddhist monks. Sculptures carved scenes depicting people's life in towns and villages, as well as in the forest. Many of these sculptures were used to decorate railings, pillars, and gateways of buildings that were visited by people. In many cities, archaeologists have found rows of pot or ceramic rings arranged on one on top of the other. Students, these are known as ring wells. These seem to have been used as toilets in some cases and as drains and garbage dumps. These ring wells were usually found in individual houses. Another way of finding out about early cities is from the accounts of sailors and travelers who visited them. One of the most detailed accounts that has been found was by an unknown Greek sailor. He described all the ports he visited.